everybody, welcome into Rock Painting 101. Today I am going to do a quick tutorial on how to do a fall tree using acrylic paint. So we're going to layer on a lot of our leaves just to give it that depth, you know, those shadows that are deep inside the tree. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you do. Feel free to add in the comments any tutorials you'd like to see. And of course, subscribe. There's a little square either down here or down here that you can subscribe to the video or the channel at any time during the video. Okay, so I've done fall tree before using like paint pens, more of a dotting style technique. So I wanted to do one today using some acrylic paint. So I'm just gonna get some colors out here. I've got brown, yellow, white, and black. Pretty simple. You could do this same style tree using any color that you would like. Some people have more orange colored trees, reds, just whatever you're inspired to use. Just the littlest bit of white. We really don't need much of that. And same with the black here, just a little bit. And we're gonna keep that away from our white too. As far as brushes, I've got a 0 round tip brush. And then this one is a number 2 flat. So just what you've got around will work most likely. Depends on the size of your rock to the size of your brushes. And I gotta get my water over here. And I'm only gonna use water here at the beginning to kind of, I don't like to start with super dry bristles very often. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do is, if you think about a tree and if you're looking at it, there are going to be leaves on the back side under your trunk. So the very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our yellow, and we're going to build out the shape of our tree by just dabbing on the rock. It depends, like I said, on how big your rock is. I've got a little one underneath here to try to kind of help hold this up. Now we're gonna dab, dab, dab. Those little highlights will be way out on the tips. I'm going to build on top of this quite a bit, so don't worry about the center too much, but go back and really force out some of that paint. Lay down some of that yellow out along these edges. Just like that, okay? Now you're not going to see a lot of this in the center, but I like to just kind of use the paint that's on my brush to kind of dab it into that center spot, like so. All right. Now the very core inside the tree usually is pretty dark. It has some shadow to it, so we're gonna go yellow, brown here. Okay, we're just gonna kind of get like a marbled, darker shade of yellow going here. You don't have to completely mix it. And we're going to build up that inside of the tree a little bit. So just kind of dab that in the center area. Kind of take it close to those tips, but leave those nice highlighted yellow. And as you dab along, you'll kind of lighten up the paint that you've got in here anyways. There we go, just like that. All right. Now we can start adding our trunk and our branches, because that's going to kind of be in the core, the center of the tree, and then we'll layer some more leaves on top of that. So again, this is just a 0 round. First thing we're going to do is I like to work from the outside to the trunk. And what I mean by outside, I mean the furthest most tip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brown, and I'm going to lay this down first, and then we're going to go back in with some lighter and darker shades that will give it more of a bark look when we get to the trunk down here. So we're going to start way out here, way out at the tip, because these leaves have to come from somewhere, right? And we're just going to kind of bounce our way down all the way to where our trunk would be, like so. Got a couple of strays here on my brush. And kind of give it a twist every once in a while. That will kind of help it. There we go. Okay, now we're going to find our next most outer area here off to the side. These branches have to come from somewhere, kind of bounce it in. And when you get to your main trunk, we're gonna thicken the main trunk. So as your larger branches come in, it helps you size your trunk in proportion to the tree a little bit this way. So we're gonna have one way over here, and it's gonna work its way back. And then when it gets to the trunk, we'll thicken that trunk just a little bit. Okay. And maybe one way out here. And maybe another one over here. Okay, now all of these would have little branches coming to them as well, which would thicken up this little spot here. Now I'm not going to lay every single one in. I'm just going to kind of create some little lines and areas that will be darkness, and we're going to add some darkness to this with some black as well. So just kind of create some spaces that we'll possibly see break through the leaves when we're done here. I like to use the same rule of thumb though. When you're adding branches out here, then this branch should become a little bit thicker. Okay. And so if we add a little one here, that would make this right here a little thicker. Just like so. Now again, a lot of this stuff is going to end up getting covered up, but you want to have this stuff in between there, so the little peekaboo spots where it comes out, it really just helps your painting. Okay, just gonna add one more up here. A couple little scraggly sticks and twigs that stick out here and there. And you got a fall tree until those leaves all drop, and they kind of just stick out all over. Okay, so next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my brown on here, and I'm gonna add just a streak or two of black, just to kind of get a couple darker tones. And I'm doing this now because I'm going to have it on part of the trunk. Just lightly lay that down, because I want the leaves that are in front to kind of block some of it. We're going to do the same thing with a white to get a nice streak of lighter. You can add some of those up here, sticking out, and then along the same thing. All right. So I am going to rinse this brush out because I'm not going to probably use it again for a while, if at all. I don't like to have them sit with paint for too long. All right, so we want to let this trunk dry a little bit before we start adding on our next layer of leaves, because we don't want to pull up this brown. We can mix some brown in with our shading with the yellow. However, we don't want to pull the brown up off of here. So we're going to give this just a second to dry, and then we'll be back. Okay, so now this is a nice dry. We're going to work backwards off of this. We're going to create an even darker shade here of yellow, almost a lighter shade of brown here, just to do some of the very center areas of the tree, because way down in there when the leaves are still on and they're turning brown, it's pretty dark if you're looking at the tree. So again, we're going to use our dabbing motion, and we're just going to build the very center lightly, the core of the tree with this dark area. Okay, that's it, just that little bit. Now we're going to build up backwards. So we're going to go back to this more lighter or medium, I guess you should say, yellow color. And we're going to take that and we're going to dab right on top of this brown area. And we're going to wipe every once in a while because we don't want to pull up too much of that dark into it. And you don't want to cover all of it. You're just going to kind of break it apart a little bit. Okay. Now the last layer is going to be that layer that gives those leaves the highlight, the ones that are catching the sun on the outer edges of the tree. So we're going to go into our pure yellow here. As pure as we're going to get here. I'll take it from the inside. There we go. And we are going to dab, and we're going to create highlights but leave pockets of that dark. See how I'm leaving that little area of dark there? Because the dark is what gives it the depth. Okay? So we're going to keep adding that nice bright yellow. We're going to kind of create these branches. And see, you can barely see any of the branches we put in there, but every once in a while you do. You can build on them if you see them in there. Okay, and you can even go back out to that very first layer. Just make sure that's nice and bright yellow way out on those tips. There we go. And there you have it. Now you could do the same thing, you guys. Oh, I should have done this all along the ground here. So again, start with your dark, kind of dab, 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 dab. Like some of the leaves are starting to fall, or the ground's kind of turning grass. We'll get a little highlights on this as well. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Hope you give this a try. Again, you could do this in lots of different colors. You could do this with orange or red. You would still mix with brown. I would use brown as my shadow color to create the colors inside the tree. If you prefer to paint with paint pens, I'll make sure to link to that one here in the video as well. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. We'll see you again soon with another easy idea for beginners. Bye-bye.